Hello! Good day everyone! This video lesson is simply created highlighting different practices anchored on different theories. This is Maria Angela Libo-on, your discussant. Any existing theory will be on its utmost importance as it can serve as a guide in bettering a negative situation. In this video presentation, I will cite specific curricular-related cases and curricular problems faced by K-12 teachers, school administrators, and university leaders. Different readings and insights will be presented as to shed light to the curriculum theories that we have already known, because the main goal after learning is to put them into practice when dealing with situations that call for theories application. Three parts will comprise our discussion for this Chapter 8 entitled From Theory to Practice, as our main objective is to shed light on how to put theories into practice by featuring school cases with practical solutions to be able to give answers to our three big questions, which are, for Part 1, what should we do with state curriculum standards? Part 2, how can we reinstitutionalize a core curriculum at our university? Part 3, what should we do to create a better teacher-ed curriculum? There will be different cases to discuss as they are designed not just to plainly answer the given questions, but above all are designed to help you imagine how practitioners that take a deliberative approach can resolve the issues presented. Think of the following characters as representative examples of the teachers and school administrators who face similar problems each day. Let's go with the first part. What should we do with state curriculum standard? The answer to what should be done with state curriculum standards depends upon many factors that teachers and school administrators face at any given time. For this concern, we will be having the case of Mr. Jesse Parker, a U.S. history teacher at Woodvale High School, Massachusetts. So here's his story. Mr. Jesse Parker has been teaching since 1976. His first teaching job found him teaching world history, U.S. history in a yearbook class at a junior high school in suburban Massachusetts. His passion has always been U.S. history, so he jumped at a chance to switch to Woodvale High, where he could focus only on U.S. history. Woodvale is a large school with approximately 1,800 students, most of whom are high achieving. For the most part, Mr. Parker's students are well behaved. They perform well on state tests, pay attention in class, and generally complete their home assignments. Mr. Parker's students don't come to class with so much interest in history, but he enjoys trying to inspire a passion for the subject, even if they arrive expecting a boring class of facts, dates, and non-stop information. On the other hand, he is also well respected by his fellow teachers. He has a reputation as an inspiring, committed teacher who, due to his dedication, will likely teach another 5 or even 10 years. Mr. Parker has continued to develop himself professionally. He completed a master's degree in social studies education in 1981 at a well-known university. Now, the major problem that Mr. Parker faces at this point in his career is that the state of Massachusetts recently adopted a new set of history standards. If he follows this new standard strictly, he would require to make several radical changes to his U.S. history curriculum. His favorite part of U.S. history is on space exploration. That always makes a strong impact on students in the previous curriculum, far more than the new standards. In the new standards, space exploration is only one line among a long list of topics. There is no way that Mr. Parker would have covered everything in the new standards if he maintains his practice of teaching a 2-week unit on the space race. Aside from that, he also cares even more on the Holocaust unit, one which he has taught for more than 20 years. Students have strong connection with this unit too. The problem is, the new U.S. history standards make no mention whatsoever with the Holocaust. Mr. Parker believes that it should be part of the new U.S. history standard as well. Mr. Parker faces a series of questions that are not new given his long career. They have, however, become so urgent now that district administrators have begun to place great emphasis on test scores. Should he ignore the new standards altogether and keep doing what it has been doing? Or should he toss aside his two favorite units to make room for covering all the items found in the new standard? What should Mr. Parker do to resolve the problems? How can he continue to teach what he enjoys while at the same time adapting the new standards? How might he balance all the factors that make him a good teacher while at the same time manage the new pressures that have been placed upon him? How can curriculum deliberation help Mr. Parker decide how to proceed? This time, let's move on resolving Mr. Parker's problems. Mr. Parker's problems can be resolved in a variety of ways. A systematic view would strictly enforce the system of standards adopted by the state of Massachusetts. Systematizers would remind Mr. Parker that the standards were developed for a reason, that he is an official agent of the state, and that the only way the standards can achieve their goal of delivering the same content to all students is if teachers implement them in the way they were designed. Mr. Parker should feel free to find creative methods to teach the state standards, but he is not at liberty to avoid material that has been adopted officially by the state. A deliberative approach tells Mr. Parker that he should begin to search for creative ways to address these issues while keeping all the curriculum commonplaces in mind. The commonplace that eventually helps Mr. Parker decide what he should do is curriculum making. He wants his students to receive an education that liberates them as free citizens who will shape the future of Massachusetts and the nation as a whole. He imagines a variety of solutions that keep common standards and test scores in mind. At the same time, he thinks of options that avoid the problem of standards and tests controlling his curriculum. One possibility he considers is to use questions from previous versions of the end of course exam, which have been released as review questions as students complete as they prepare for his unit exams. By using previous exams in this way, Mr. Parker is preparing students for the types of questions they will see at the end of the year without building his entire curriculum around them. The hybridized curriculum that Mr. Parker develops during the next academic year is not the same as it was before. It does, however, build upon the strengths of his experience. He finds a way to satisfy the state's expectations for what should be taught in a U.S. history curriculum, but he also figures out a path that allows him to teach subjects that interest him personally. In doing so, Mr. Parker finds a way to teach what he enjoys teaching, but within the framework of the new U.S. history standards. So, that's all about the case of Mr. Jesse Parker, who is a U.S. history teacher. Such case which gives us some insights on what should we do with the state curriculum standards. In this video lesson, we suggested practices as we answer the first question, what should we do with state curriculum standards? Let us take the following key points or summary of points for this case. Remember, many beginning teachers rely much more heavily on state curriculum standards than do experienced teachers. A common debate when it comes to curriculum standards has to deal with how specific they should be. Some people argue that standards should be highly specific and even script what teachers say. Others support the idea of curriculum standards but think they should be general and leave individual teachers room for flexibility. Based on the first case presented, strong teachers like Mr. Parker sometimes leave the profession because of the many and sometimes contradicting demands that are placed upon them. Despite the different key points given, the case of Mr. Parker also leads us to a lot of possibilities. Possibilities which can open us to a lot of solutions that we can perform to be able to solve the similar problem that he is facing. So this ends the part 1 of this video lesson. Thank you so much. So once again, this is your discussant, Maria Angela B. Libo-on.